Mr. Speaker, for months, the government has known about various very serious allegations concerning former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney. They received hundreds of pages on the whole affair. The Prime Minister even received personal letters from Mr. Schreiber, and yet they did nothing for months. Why?
Shame. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Order.
Mr. Speaker, last week I announced that as a result of sworn affidavit that has been filed in court, the government announced it would appoint an independent third party to advise the government on how to proceed with such allegations. Mr. Speaker, to make clear what we will be doing, we will be asking that independent third party, who we will be naming very shortly, to provide us with the terms of reference for a full public inquiry, as well as any other course of action that independent party deems appropriate. I remind the Liberal leader that Karlheinz Schreiber has been the subject of extradition proceedings by the federal government for the past 8 years. I can assure the Leader of the Opposition, when somebody writes on his extradition proceeding, that is not handled by the Prime Minister, that goes to appropriate government officials.
Mr. Speaker, even Mr. Mulroney is calling for a full public inquiry. The Prime Minister must be the only person who doesn't think it's a good idea. Why? What is he afraid of? Will he do the right thing? Will he take his responsibility and call a full public inquiry now?
The Leader of the Opposition had whipped himself up into that question and had failed to listen to the previous two answers. That's precisely what the government will be doing. Under the circumstances, Mr. Speaker, the independent party that the government will be employing, that independent party will be making the recommendation to the government on the appropriate terms of inquiry for a full public inquiry.
All correspondence sent to the Prime Minister receives a routing slip and a docket. It is fully tracked and traceable. Letters of such political sensitivity, like those detailing allegations of abuse by a former Prime Minister, are immediately forwarded by PCO to the Prime Minister's most senior staff. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's office had these letters. If he wants to retain any credibility, he should stand up in his place now and tell the truth.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, Karlheinz Schreiber is the subject to ongoing court action by the federal government since they were in office seeking his extradition. The Prime Minister is never going to get involved in reading correspondence on that matter from such an individual. I have to inform the honourable member, who never misses a chance at a good conspiracy theory, Mr. Speaker. I have to say to him that I have no relationship with Karlheinz Schreiber, and I certainly don't intend to become his pen pal now.
This is no laughing matter. Canadians are losing confidence in their government, not just one government, not just one Conservative Prime Minister, but back and forth from side to side, scandal after scandal. The question is this Prime Minister going to be serious about taking action? He's happy to instruct his ministers who not to talk to. Will he instruct them all, including the ones in the Senate, to speak to whatever public inquiry is brought forward and cooperate fully in every way to get to the bottom of this scandal? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, of course, Mr. Speaker, but I do have to remind the Leader of the NDP, while he's in fine flying form like that the events we're talking about did occur somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 years ago and involve a settlement signed by the previous government 10 years ago. But Mr. Speaker, obviously, we will cooperate, as I expect every member of Parliament would.